improv a little bit last minute for one that couldn't be here, and it's fantastic, especially since you were talking about Minnesota too. Awesome. So, as we introduce our Commissioner of Education, he's been around PBS for a very long time himself. We know a little history about Commissioner Willie Jett, the second, of course. But he's been around PBS and really supports the work here. And we are really grateful for that at the Department of Education because it's not every state that gets to partner with a government agency and have partners throughout the state with regions and with schools and trainers and coaches. So we have a pretty amazing support here. So before I say anything else, we really asked Commissioner Jett to come in person. We know he is super busy, and so we're grateful he can be here in person. We have him just going to give us a couple of notes quick, and he has a PBS tie on. So what can we clap for that? Looks great.
Thank you, thank you. I'm walking up here wearing my PBIS tie, okay? And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself, yep, this is online. And so my daughter, who's a college age student, is going to look and say, Dad, I didn't pick that out for you. Okay. And so I will have some problems with that. The other thing is, when I first walked in, I heard that there was cake. And you know, I have a sweet tooth. And so, with that being said, I could have used the cake beforehand. I got to go get milk now, but I'll make sure that I have some cake. So, thank you for that. And then as you were sitting here you had your lunch break, I was sprinting here. There's things going on in this world um, at a in-home daycare here in the state. I'm sure if you haven't seen it, you'll see it cross the news, and it just makes you put things in perspective. You had yesterday's elections, and then you actually have that moment in time. And then I'm thinking about PBIS. And is it related to that moment? I'm not sure it is, but at the same token, you're talking about taking care of someone. And I think PBIS is that moment, even when I was a superintendent in St. Cloud, and just talking about reaching a young person and making sure that they're covered by all angles and actually that people actually care. And so that just as I was in that moment and seeing how we could support that community and that learning, yeah, the Hopkins schools and that learning community, I knew I was coming here. And so great to see everybody. So now they gave me this formal script. Okay, so I got to make sure that I say these things. And so you can yell at me later, okay, if in case I bore you, but this, and it wasn't, she didn't do this, and it wasn't the comms team. They just gave me some official things that I need to say. And so if I'm online in this official capacity, because if I wasn't online, I'd drop the mic and we would just talk. But being that I'm online, let me say this. So I'm supposed to say good afternoon to everyone here. And so it's just a pleasure to celebrate our PBI sustaining exemplar schools and districts. And thank you for your leadership and for creating supportive environments. And that's where my mindset comes in today. The environments where every student can feel connected, succeed, and be their best. And wouldn't it be nice if all of us across the world could do that? What PBIS shows is what's possible when you use data, when you use collaboration and positive supports to improve student outcomes and equity. And so today I'm proud to highlight 3 secondary schools doing this work exceptionally well. The first one, Jackson County Central Middle School. Southern Region Jackson County Central puts student voice at the center of PBIS. Students help shape celebrations and incentives, while staff use data to address challenges like tardiness, engagement, and assignment completion. And their focus on positive choices is building a stronger school community. Next, Ivan Sand Community School, Northern Region since 2011. And Ivan Sand has sustained PBIS and built a culture centered on second chances and continuous improvement. And see, someone's coming in late. We'll get her. She didn't hand us a pass. She's an MDE employee, so that's why I can say that to her. And so with that, we'll talk later. That's part of her eval. No. So with that being said, their collaborative approach has contributed to stronger engagement, fewer referrals, reduced truancy, and improved grades. Sorry. And with that, third, Lakeville South High School, their Metro Region Lakeville South Social Emotional Learning Team uses data to track students' progress, recognize positive interactions, and address challenges such as attendance disruption, fights, and tobacco use. Jackson County Central, Ivan Sand, and Lakeville South, your work is much more, it's about much more than behavior. You're helping students to build relationships, resilience, confidence, and the skills to take ownership of their own success. And so I just want to say thank you for all that you do. And please join me in congratulating these schools and all of our sustaining exemplar schools and districts. I'm supposed to turn it over to our statewide PBIS implementation team to introduce our panelists and share more about this important work across Minnesota. But with that being said, I know I lost my mind, talked about cake, a tie, someone being tardy, and all that good stuff. Can you imagine working with me and that kind of stuff happens all the time? That's just who I am. Sorry again, Tonya. With that being said, thank you for what you do in the midst of all that's going on in the world today. As school is starting, I just get into that what's important, relationships. I get into what's important, young people's spirits. And not every adult actually gives a rat's behind to actually do that. Did I say that out loud? I did. And so thank you for being the adult that actually takes care of a kid and puts a kid first. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Yep, time to get your cake. It's a PBIS blue, so you have to, you're going to have blue in your mouth the rest of the day here. Okay, so my name is Kelsey Black. I'm the statewide developmental cognitive disability specialist. I'm really happy to serve on the PBIS team, working specifically with the South most of the time. And we were really happy to reprise a panel that we had at our APBS conference this spring. We had a representative from each region, a couple representatives from some of the regions, here to show how their work with our sustaining exemplar status. So we'll start with some introductions here, very brief. I'll give just a brief introduction to the past and present implementation in Minnesota. You guys are familiar with that, so we'll keep it moving. And then we will have our exemplars go through highlights from their schools, and we'll have a little bit of time for questions. Please do give us a little bit of grace. We're working hybrid here, so we might have to work through a few things. But I'll invite our in-person folks up to the front. We have Nick Jurens and Scott Morrissey from Jefferson Elementary in our southern region. Some snaps and emojis. Thank you. Come on up. You can grab one of these chairs here, guys, and then we'll have this mic ready for you in just a second. And then online, we have Rachel Loftus and Zach Hott. If you guys can turn on your cameras and say hello. Snaps for Hidden Oaks, Twin Oaks Middle Schools online. And then we have Steve Wagner online as well. He is our Sauk Rapids Rice representative from our northern region. So thank you to all 5 of our panelists for joining us today. And here is our Minnesota PBIS timeline. Erin's coming to help me to make sure we can show our online folks as well. This is our timeline that we love to highlight. We have over 20 years of implementation here in Minnesota. We have one of our long-term reps back there. Eric Cluse has been in with the project since the beginning, and we're just proud to have an implementation team that's supported statewide for so long. You guys have seen these slides a few times before, I'm sure, so we'll keep it moving to the next one. That is a-okay. And you already saw this one this morning, so we will skip these. But I just wanted to give you a sense of coming from our regions. The NRIP cohorts 1 through 22 have 309 schools, and our friends representing here today are coming up from above St. Cloud here. And so thank you, Erin. Appreciate it. And then one moment. And then our MRIP schools, Hidden Oaks, they're coming down from the Eden Prairie schools online for us today. And then our SRIP cohorts. You guys in Faribault are right here, right? Around this area. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, there we go. We're over here. So you can see we have our statewide representatives far flung across the states. Everybody's coming from really different environments. We find that in the north and the south, they're dealing with really different things than in the cities. So we're just really excited to have this panel here to do a little bit of sharing so you can hear what works well in different environments. And so you all have applied for exemplar status potentially. So we just wanted to remind you, everyone here today has either reached that TFI 2.1 score of 70% or higher, or the 3.0 score of 40% or higher. And then we have all of the different criteria that folks are meeting for having leadership teams meeting regularly and continuing implementation ongoing. So we have next our Sauk Rapids Rice High School folks, ready to go. Steve, are you with us?
The tech issues to make sure they're spotlighted.
Perfect. Do we have eyes on Steve?
Don't see him in the participant list.
Okay, we will then go right ahead. We'll come on back and we will take it to our in-person folks while we find our online folks. Thank you. All right, can I pass it off to you?
Unless the scissors stand.
You may do whichever you're
I like to,
As long as you stay here.
I like
we're
to
in
move some of
the-
the same.
Yeah, for sure. Stand away. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Jurns, and I'm the proud principal of Jefferson Elementary in Faribault, Minnesota. And this is my partner in crime, Mr. Morrissey. He's our dean of students, and we've been together at Jefferson. Now we're starting our 5th year together at Jefferson, and this is starting my 11th year doing PBIS. So, a little bit about Jefferson Elementary. You can see our kind of our student profile of our student body profile. That's just the percentages. We actually our district recently reorganized, so we actually went up considerably in our building count by about 100 students. We are a little over 40% Somali, about 35% Spanish speaking, and then about 20% white. We're about 78, 79% free and reduced as well. So some of the highlights that we've had since we started 4 years ago, we just threw our TFI data in there. We don't have this year's TFI data because we did go out on a limb and do the TFI 3.0. But a couple of things to highlight. When we started in the summer of 22, we were down below that 70% mark. And at that time, when we took over, there was a lot on the celebrations end of PBIS, but not a whole lot on the instruction piece and the lesson planning. And so, and I'm not sure when the last time was that they had taken a TFI, but there was a lot of things that they had been doing, but they hadn't been collecting consistent data in a variety of areas. So basically, we said, okay, this is our TFI. This is what we're going to use to drive us. Scott's done a really nice job of crafting an action plan directly tied to our TFI. So we have action steps based on our areas of need. And so you can see we went up quite rapidly. And then you'll see that dip there in 2024. One of the things we're super proud of is that when we started, Jefferson Elementary was the only building that was PBIS. And we are now a PBIS district. So every other site, we have 3 elementaries. Thank you. We have 3 elementaries, a middle school and a high school. And our 3 elementaries and the middle school have all completed cohort training, and our high school is in year 2 right now. And so with that, when the decision was made that we were going to be district-wide PBIS, our superintendent told us, you have to have common expectations and a common acronym across every single site. Well, we have some key players in our building that have been doing PBIS long before we got there. And some of them wanted to hold on very tightly to things that they had created 10, 12 years ago. And so with the change that we made, that to a consistent acronym, that was a change for Jefferson. And that there was a very strong emotional response with some of our staff, and they kind of took it out on us on the TFI, I guess I would say. We have since moved past that. You can see we went from 63% right back up to 87%, and so we got over that, but that was definitely a hurdle for us. So we've done a lot of work, again, using the TFI to guide us. When we started, there was a behavior flow chart, but it was in a staff handbook, and it was not an active part of how they operated. It was an active process that was used. And so we updated our behavior flow chart, and we trained staff on it. And it's really how we make decisions about students that display undesirable behaviors. And we've made a few tweaks and changes over the years, but by and large, it has remained the same. we talk about how PBIS provides predictability and consistency for our students. I believe that that's important for our staff as well. So that's why it's important to have consistent processes and ways that we manage certain things, okay, including undesirable behaviors. We also, there's a lot of different things that we've done. And a cool thing that we did, especially for onboarding new staff, is we created a SOAR 101 document a couple of years ago. So it's basically any and all things Tier 1 PBIS. It's all housed in one location, okay? And also with that, we really try to put that MTSS triangle at the front of everything that we do, because I'm sure you've all been there when whether it's in a staff meeting or a small group meeting or a staff member catches you. We like to tell stories about those students that have those specialized individual needs. And I think it's really important to bring people back to this is for all, right? We have systems, we have processes, we have teams that are set up to help those kiddos. But really, when we're looking at what we're doing school-wide, we need to keep our focus right here.
Boy, it's been a while since I've seen this here. Yeah, so that just kind of goes over the data there again, broken down. And, we've talked a lot about using these numbers here and making sure it fits to that triangle. And last year I was really intentional about, can we predict if we're going to get there or not? Can we get that 85 or 80, 15, 5? Can we get there? And honestly, it was really hard, but yes, after a couple of months, we can predict where we're going to be. I'm really excited about the direction of our advanced tiers though, because that was the big missing piece, which we added last year to some capacity. Now we're getting trained. We went last week and it was fantastic. And, a team of people that are looking at the interventions and are they working? Are you using it with fidelity? So those are some things that weren't there before, but this just kind of talks through some of the history there. What's next? Oh, and then we have our pledge down here. Can't go without the Jefferson Pledge here. So all the schools use the pledge, but they change the name of the school, obviously. But I'm a Faribault Falcon. I'm safe. Oh, that's an old one. I'm safe, on task, accountable, and respectful. Those are our 4 acronyms.
We only had 2 slides.
You guys want to step off to the side a little bit just so that yeah, perfect. Okay, and we do have Steve joining us now. Zach, I see you guys are there together as well. Hello. Steve, thanks so much for hopping on. It's so good to see you. I'm just going to toggle back to your slides here. And so if you'd love to introduce yourself, we're testing.
Sounds good. Everybody, can you hear me just fine?
We can. Excellent.
Awesome. Sorry about my tardiness. Sometimes
No
we just never
problem.
know what we're going to get in a given day. And so supporting a student and a family member, but I'm really excited to be here again. I'm Steve Wagner, assistant principal at Sauk Rapids Rice High School, located in central Minnesota. And as you can see, we serve grades 9 through 12, approximately 1,400 students. And so that's a little bit about me. And we have really worked pretty diligently on our learning environments at Sauk Rapids Rice High School. And really, it's all about having that predictable, positive, equitable learning environment for us. And we took a little bit of a different spin on our expectations, where you can see we call our school-wide expectations core values. And so we hang our hat on school engagement, respect, and responsibility. And so that is just a little bit of a different twist that we use, and it has worked really well for us. Then we also really look at our framework. How do we roll out our behavioral systems, our PBIS? And it's all about our MTSS framework, where, of course, that's the umbrella where we include our academics, our behaviors, and our staff well-being. And so that is really the lens that we do a lot of our work from. And so on the next slide, you can see a little bit of our systems in place with our clear expectations. We work really diligently to have explicit instruction around those expectations. So we want to be sure that our students enter the classroom knowing what the behaviors are that are expected from them. And yes, we're a high school. Yes, we may at times feel and believe that students should know what's expected of them as a high school student. But again, we don't want to assume. We don't want to assume that for a moment. So we continually work to say we need to teach those expectations. We need to teach them at every segue through our lesson when we're transitioning maybe from direct instruction to group work time. Let's be sure that our students know and understand what's expected from them. And then that consistent reinforcement piece is so important. And that doesn't mean just consistently reinforcing, making sure students are behaving appropriately, but also that means to acknowledge our students when indeed they are behaving appropriately and doing the right things and practicing our core values. So you can see there on the screen that we have our Storm Pride ticket that we use to acknowledge our students. Really simple, really straightforward. Put the student name on, put the staff name on. You can circle which core value that you are having exemplified in front of you. But I think the most important part of this ticket is the backside. And you can see that we want our staff to just to put a quick note of behavior specific praise so that they know specifically what it was that really caught that staff member's eye. And that's a big deal. And so we do use our Storm Pride tickets in different ways. Some of our staff use them in their classrooms in certain ways, but other staff, or actually, we also have a big DECA project where students can collect 3 of these and go to the DECA store and get a cookie or something like that. But what we found this last school year was not a lot of them were getting turned in. Kids were holding on to them. They were putting them away in certain places and spaces because they were excited to show other people, but they're also using them to pull them out and look at them and read that behavior specific praise. So a lot of really cool things that are able to be seen through that acknowledgement. Also that what you can see on the screen around our clear expectations, just an example of one of our specific classroom matrices and Ms. DeBoer's core values. And so obviously one of our math teachers, but really getting into the procedures that she wants to have as routines. So building those procedures that become the routines, start of class, direct instruction, student work time, submitting work. Do you need to leave the room? The end of the class. So really going through what does school engagement, respect, and responsibility look like at each of those transitions. But then also an added part that is on the bottom there is the teacher's role. So what's the teacher going to be doing at each of those transitions as well? And so not just looking at the student, but also stepping up as the staff member to say, hey, know this, I have a part in this as well. All right. Another piece for us that is important is responding to our behaviors with the clarity and consistency. And so a little bit of a data review here across time. I started as assistant principal at Sauk Rapids Rice High School in 2018-19, and teams and in other schools that I've been fortunate enough to work with through being a PBIS trainer know that I love data. And so digging into that, I can share across a good amount of time in showing that we do have really nice consistency here at Sauk Rapids Rice High School, showing that we always have a strong green zone of students that have 0 or 1 behavior referral, and keeping our yellow zone less than 15% and keeping our red zone less than 5% with students having 6 or more behavior referrals. And part of that is what is a part of our system then, and in making sure that our staff know our referral system. And so on the right, you can see is our behavior interventions procedures, and really that's our flow chart. And so we've just taken a different stance on it rather than having some lines and arrows on our flow chart. We really sat down as a PBIS team to look at what will make the most sense for our teachers and our staff when they're working through behaviors. And so really broke it down into 5 steps, and really the first one being, hey, just classroom interventions, just as to be able to redirect a student. It's not something that's coming up through our code of conduct to say that we need to put this in as a referral into our system or anything, but giving staff the ability to select and apply different strategies and things with students, but then also giving them the tools if they need to reach out to home. There's a template that can support that, and so on and so forth. So that's another important part to our system at Sauk Rapids Rice High School. So I know I talked about a lot of things there, but I would certainly be open to any thoughts or questions anybody might have for me.
Yeah, we will definitely, we're going to let Hidden Oaks, Twin Oaks do their piece, and
Oh,
then we'll
for
open
sure,
up
sure.
questions to everyone at the end. Thanks so much,
Very
Steve.
good. Thank you.
All right, and I see we have Zach and Rachel on the screen. Thanks so much for joining us. You just let me know when you want me to advance.
We are ready to go if you want to put up our first slide.
Here we go.
So my name is Rachel Loftus, and I'm here with Zach Hott. So what's interesting is Zach is going on as a year 4 dean. I'm starting year 5 dean. This is my second school as a dean, and Zach has always been in Prior Lake. So Prior Lake Savage area schools, it's like kind of south of Eden Prairie, Bloomington area. What's interesting about us compared to other middle schools kind of in the state is our schools are right across the street from each other. So we have kids crossing all day long. So something that we kind of really focused on is kind of aligning with each other. So I came in new last year, and again, we have 1,000 kids between us, but then we can have as many as 200 kids passing at any given time. So we really had to work together to kind of just align the practices between the two schools, because a kid could have some troubles over across at Twin Oaks, and then Zach would know how to handle it, and we know how to be consistent for the kids across the way. As you can see, we were very predominantly white. And then we have kind of a higher special education population. And then that's kind of where our behaviors sometimes arise. We can go to the next slide.
All right, and like Rachel said, my name is Zach Hott. I am the Dean of Students here at Twin Oaks, but again, we work with students from both buildings as part of our one campus. A really big thing that we want to highlight here is just kind of our practices and what we're doing to be proactive with teaching those behavior expectations, right? We want to have really clear and consistent behavior expectations. We're big on using our matrix with our staff, with our students. We're having a lot of conversations now about the upcoming school year and how are we using this tool in order to teach those expectations in different spaces. We also have posters for these different spaces as well, so that there's that visual reminder for students, but what are those expectations there? So we have the direct instruction, that clear and consistent direct instruction, while also having those visuals in place in those shared spaces, so that not only can students refer back to them, but the adults who are in that space who are doing the redirecting can also refer back to those pieces. Other big thing, right, that we've seen from our other groups too are about those celebrations and those reinforcements of our expectations. And so we have our Laker Pride tickets, similar to what you guys have seen, right, that our students, when they're doing the right thing, adults are going to reward them with that behavior specific praise, giving that to that student. They can turn those in, and then we are doing weekly drawings with them. So we do weekly drawings with students, we take pictures, we reach out to their families, we make a whole big deal about it. But then beyond that, we're trying to do other things as well. So every quarter, we're on a quarter-based system. Our teachers are going out and recognizing a student from their class who is going above and beyond. We call it our all-star team. So our all-star team is coming in, and they get a certificate, and then twice a year we do a breakfast for them and their families with a guest speaker, with our jazz band or our honor choir coming in to perform. Just something to help really show the importance of what these students are doing to help the climate and culture of our building. And so engaging with that reinforcement, that celebration is so big. Something new that we have implemented over the last 2 years here is really bringing in more student voice and engagement into the PBIS process. We have Rachel will talk about this in a minute, but we have a PBIS team, leadership team of teachers that kind of go through and review data, help look at some of the celebrations that we can do. But what we've started to implement is a committee of student leaders, and they are leaders at every grade level. They meet with us once a month, and they act kind of in tandem with our adult team. And so we are not showing them maybe all of the student behavior data that we have, but we're talking about trends that we see and asking the kids, what trends are you seeing? And it's really interesting because the kids are honest, right? They're honest about the things they don't like that they maybe see some of their peers doing, or maybe some of them are doing, and have ideas themselves on how we can go about and address that. We also do that with our celebrations. We want to hear back from them. What do you want to see as part of those Laker Pride ticket drawings? What do you want to see as our, I didn't mention this earlier, but we do quarterly celebrations at the end of every quarter to celebrate the positive things we've done. What do you want to see as part of that? And it's really, what I've noticed in the last 2 years of doing that is it's really increased engagement as a whole on the building level, with students turning in their pride tickets, with students getting excited about those quarterly celebrations that we're doing, because we're really hearing from the kids themselves about what they want to do, how they want to get recognized. And I think that that voice and choice is so important. You can go ahead to the next slide.
So kind of one of the things we really focused on this year as a group is Zach and I worked really closely with the deans at the high school. So we had just, one of the things when we came in looking at kind of the referrals that we saw in students, there's a lot of things on like tardies and attendance. And that is something within Prior Lake, like they do document kind of in our Infinite Campus system, tardies and attendance. So what we really did was kind of like really together with the deans at the high school, like, how do you guys handle tardies? Because, you know, that's the age old question, is how do you handle tardies? And we formed kind of something with that. So one of the simple things we did is we turned on the function in Infinite Campus where kids could track their tardies, and kind of see where, like, because at the high school level, there's like an attention or detention kind of thing. And by simply just on that tardy tracker, like, and kind of explicitly teaching kids what a tardy means and things like that, we saw a significant drop in kids being late to class, which was really helpful. And again, a lot of behaviors in middle school happen in the hallways. So the faster we'd get kids to class, the safer our hallways would be. Also, when we kind of looked at, when we were breaking down our data, like our majors went down significantly as well. And that again comes through that kind of, you know, teaching what is a minor behavior, what is a major behavior, what entails an exclusionary consequence, you know, what entails a restorative conversation and things like that. So we really focus on both sides of the street, being sure that we're defining things the same as we are at the high school, and all the kids are just aware of it. So we really spent some time just kind of looking at from previous data, and then just really like, how can we make our hallway safer, our lunchroom safer, and kind of those spaces that aren't as supervised as well when kids are moving. I mean, we have 2,000 kids moving between two buildings 6 times a day. So just kind of making that push of being safe really just kind of changed our data overall, and creating a safe school culture in kind of those unstructured places.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rachel and Zach. You guys all made perfect time. And so now we have about 20 minutes here for questions. So I'll welcome Nick and Scott back over. You can feel free to stand or sit in a chair. And folks in person, you can wave at me. I'll come over and bring the microphone over to you to ask your question. And then online folks, we also have somebody monitoring the chat. So I'll walk over to Erin if she sees those. And then you guys, I'll have you share this microphone. So you can bring questions for a specific school. You can bring general questions that you'd love to hear some of our panelists' thoughts on. But does anybody have any questions they'd like to raise? Anybody ready to get us going? Thank you. And if you just want to introduce yourself as well.
Okay, my name is Becky Hagan from Ivan Sand Community High School in Elk River School District. We mentioned earlier that family engagement was a key thing that we wanted to work on. Well, and another person mentioned that, but I agree that's something to work on. And the Prior Lake Savage schools folks just mentioned that they invite their families in for breakfast with students of the month for twice a year. Anyone else, can you speak to how you're getting family engagement?
Yeah, this is actually really exciting. I'm glad you brought that up because we failed to mention it. Just a little bit about our team. You talked about a celebrations was a big part of what PBIS kind of meant before Nick and I got to Jefferson, and that's a huge part of it. But we also have a lesson plan team, and so our structure is we set up 2 meetings a month from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, and we have staff that come to 2 meetings. Either they're on the lesson plan team or the celebrations team, and then we have one where we talk about data. Okay, and the reasons I want to say that before I answer your question is the celebrations team is really proud that we honor our students of the month with a breakfast every month, or sorry, quarterly. So we have four breakfasts of the month, or a student of the month breakfasts quarterly, and that's where we get a lot of donations from like Hy-Vee, some of our grocery stores, bringing us some food to share, but our families are invited too, and it's been an amazing display. We have Freddie the Falcon come, and we roll out the green carpet for our kids and our families, and we take pictures, and it's just, we just put it on Facebook and make a huge deal out of the student of the month breakfast. So that's been a great celebration. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Scott. Do you
I
have
can
any?
piggyback onto that a little bit for Sauk Rapids Rice High School. We also are able to share with our families and our community because we have a family and community advisory group. And so that's been a really important part that meets monthly. So that's how we're also connecting them. And we share our data, our behavior data with them. We talk about, just the good things that are going on within our school, as well as some of the struggles. So that's just another way in which we go about bringing in and making sure our family and our community are involved.
Thanks, Steve. All right, any additional questions? We've got one over in the chat here. Okay, we have Anna asking, the schools that use the ticket systems, whether you pull weekly for a draw or reward with a cookie, if you build up many, a hard part for us is that many of our teachers are expected to have their own stores or rewards. Are there classrooms and school-wide rewards for this positive behavior? And if yes, do the classroom teachers get support for their stores and rewards? I saw some nods online. Was that Zach? Okay, go ahead.
I'll go ahead just for what we're doing here at Prior Lake Savage. We have a school-wide system. So we are not putting that on our teachers. We want to have that as a school-wide system. So we take care of that down in our student services office. And the way that we're getting funding for that is we work with our parent teacher organization, our PTC, or PTO, PTA group, and through our school-wide fundraising, we are able to put in a bid for that to have a certain amount of money put aside for us. And so that is the way that we're able to support that on a school-wide level.
Great. Yeah, we don't want to be relying on those teachers staffing their own stores, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything to add, Nick?
From an elementary perspective at Jefferson, we don't have an expectation that every single teacher has their own sort of store, sort of reward system. We do have some teachers that have their own, and they tie it into, math and social studies and so forth, which is really cool. But building wide, the expectation is that we use SOAR tickets to positively acknowledge students being safe, on task, accountable, or respectful. And then students are able to exchange those in for what we call school store tickets. So we have a school store set up where we have different items that students can purchase, tangible items, but we also, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we built in that experience piece for them. And I would say probably, well, first of all, one of my biggest things, as long as I've ever been a principal, is I've been super passionate about rewriting the negative aura of the principal's office. And so Scott and I are intentional about, if we have to see a student or students about undesirable behaviors, we try to go out and meet them in their space or pull them into an empty space. I tell people the office is not where naughty kids hang out. It's where we do the business of the school. And so just a little piece there. But one of my favorite ones is students they can purchase with their school store tickets, additional lunch or recess with me. And so then I'm bringing kids into the principal's office for the right reason. I always tell them they can bring a couple friends with, right? And then we celebrate, the student that purchased that. The other one that's really popular, and Mr. Morrissey's on there, he gets a few. But the other one that's really popular, that's super cool, is Mr. Zeke, our building custodian. Kids purchase 15 minutes of helping Mr. Zeke all the time. And part of that is his demeanor and the way he carries himself, and he's just a helper throughout the building. But that's super cool that our kids want to spend that currency on that experience with our helping out. So
Just add one piece to that. So I started a student group just to get some more voice from our students. So I pick, they're actually kind of nominated from their teachers, but a PBIS like cohort of students, 4th and 5th graders, and I meet with them every other week. I would say this is a developing process, but also just to figure out, what do you guys want from the school store? What kind of experiences would you work for? Because we found that our school store was needing a little amped up, need a little help, a little refresher, and we use the student voice to do that, and it seemed to really help. And what I usually do is I give the student reps like free, whatever the new one is the big, the eyeglasses with the big nose, and they're wearing them around school, and the kids are asking them, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? Oh, this is a school store. Oh, okay. So just kind of sparked some of our school store items.
Love it. Anything to add on that one, Steve?
Yeah, for the high school, we also, very similar to what the others have said, we don't have an expectation that every classroom go through and provide any type of a reward or have to spend money or anything like that. But our staff are really creative in the ways that they do things that are not something that costs anything, but are still really important to the students, like where they sit in the classroom, or if there's that comfy chair, or just different things along those lines that kids just really gravitate to. Obviously, the cookies are a big draw. They really are. But as I said too, the kids just love getting that acknowledgement and reading and seeing, hey, I did this really well. They're proud of that. And guess what? When that happens, it multiplies. It really does.
Such thoughtful ideas. We appreciate it. And thanks for the question, Anna. Anybody else have an additional question for the group? Online or in person? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Pellinger from La Crescent Hoka Middle School. I had a question for Steve. Your classroom matrix, it's more of a comment. I love that, just how it's like broken down. It said Ms. DeBoer's core values. So as a PBIS team, did you guys set that, or is it more individually the teacher kind of identified, or you guys kind of had like general ideas of what, because I know when we build our matrices, we build them together, right? But hers seemed very like defined. So I was just curious about that.
What we did is we gave ideas, but again, it goes back to what we want to see across the top of that matrix are the procedures that take place in your classroom. So it's really open to what that individual teacher's classroom is going to look like, sound like, and feel like, and what they're going to transition to and from. And so, yeah, there was some autonomy in what they could have as far as their procedures that they want to have turning into routines. So, yeah, great question on that. So, yeah, they had that autonomy, but if they needed more support, certainly plenty of other people were around to support them. And sometimes they would sit down even as a department to kind of put them together to talk about what things maybe should we have that are more alike than different as well.
Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks for that question, Leslie. Anyone have anything else to add on that? Oh, it looks like we've got another online question. Thanks for the signals. All right. We have a couple comments and questions from Triva. Students are often smarter than we give them credit for. Some of them have figured out the system and are model students in your classroom, but that doesn't transfer to common areas. Yes. How do you deal with that? And does that skew your data? I see some giggles online. Who would like to start? Nick, do you want to take us away?
can you read that again?
Yes, so it's talking about generalizing across different areas. So sometimes students will learn how to follow the system in one room, but then they have trouble generalizing it to other parts of the school. So how do you address that? And do you take note of those differences in your data?
So I've always used the drill down feature in Swiss to try to find out what are the problem behaviors, what are those hot spots, and then identify the students that are, exhibiting those behaviors to provide an additional level of support in those areas. I would say one thing that Scott mentioned that last year we introduced what we call our student support PLC team, which is myself and Scott, our school social workers, our school psych, our student success coach, and then also our community school coordinator. So our job was to look more at those students that were exhibiting what I would say tier 2 needs in a particular location. And so we actually did this last year where we would identify those tier 2 needs. And depending on, some of those students were already seeing a social worker, some of them were already doing check-in, check-out with the success coach. Or if they weren't, then Scott or I helped out. But what we did is we created a tier 2 lesson plan that specifically addressed the need in the location, and then somebody delivered it, right? So if they were already seeing a social worker, the social worker wove it into their instruction. If they're already doing check-in, check-out, Mr. Jim wove it into his check-in or check-out one day. Scott and I pulled some kids and did some individual and small group lessons. But the biggest part of that is giving them opportunities to practice, right? And then we would come back a month later and review the data to see, if it had improved or not. So I don't know if that answers the question well or
That was
not.
great talking about the data. Does anybody else have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I could add to that a little bit. I think when we see that when it's in a different setting, one of the things we look at the setting itself. It was mentioned maybe there's a tier 2 issue if there's a group, things like that. We'll look maybe a little further. Do we have a tier 1 issue? Have we taught the students appropriately for that setting? And so we might step back and say, have we done what we needed to do, and what changes do we need to make as adults to ensure that the expectation is clear and consistent to those students? So that's the other piece that we look into.
Yeah, and I would just chime in as well from the middle school level. This is actually something that we've dealt with in my building, typically within like our common spaces, our pod spaces. And I kind of, go back to what Steve was saying. We go back with the teachers and say, what are the reteaching and the tier 1 things that we need to do within this space? And then also, how are we as adults responding in the moment, and are we responding in a consistent and predictable way? And oftentimes not always, right? But sometimes you find that the adults aren't always responding, and it in the same way, and it shines light not on that we've necessarily done something wrong, but it's a space or an area that we haven't thought about, and now we have to go back and do that and have that conversation. So I think that's what's really key, is having that team that can kind of talk about these things that come up, having teachers who bring it up, and then going to that space, having those conversations over and over again. It's really about that team effort to come together and address this, because I think that, it's easy to point the finger, right? But we have to be solution oriented. And I think that's what PBIS is all about. So
Thank you for that question and those thoughtful answers. I think we probably got time for one more here. Thank you, Tamara. Anna has one more. At my site, we do not have office referrals. We've been using behavior calls instead, where the behavior team tracks the behaviors as they respond to. Do you feel like this is equivalent to how your school is tracking data, or does that make a large difference?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, when an undesirable behavior occurs, somebody is called to respond to it?
Yeah, a behavior call, and they're tracking the data that way.
Okay. So we don't operate that way because we don't want to draw attention to the undesirable behaviors. We want to draw attention to the positive behaviors. So I like to say we want to put the positive on the pedestal, right? And so, in fact, I am anti-walkie. I will never wear a walkie because for a variety of reasons, but my goal is to have our staff have the tools and the skills that they need to respond in an appropriate way to undesirable behaviors. If, according to our behavior flow chart, it's continuing, we get the data tracked by getting a minor put in, and then at that point, it's usually Scott that will respond with the staff member, and then oftentimes the student, but we always try to do that as privately and discreetly as possible. So I think that, do you have anything to add?
But we all know there are behaviors that teachers need help with, the unsafe situations, and that's a part of our flow chart. In that case, what we do, I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but they do call the office if it's an unsafe situation. So we will respond to those, but we have our teachers trained to call in those situations. And actually our office staff has been wonderful, and we've had to do some training on kind of triaging what is an unsafe situation and what isn't.
Thank you. Any additional words? Steve?
One thing I would maybe say to Anna is just as long as your school is consistent in how they respond, and it's being tracked and you're putting that information in as your data, then I would say absolutely that is equivalent. It's all based on your system. And if it's the data that you're collecting year over year, and that's consistent data, then absolutely it's a different way to do it for sure. And if it works for your system, kudos, absolutely love it.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Thank you so much for your thoughtful questions. You have one more. We got to make it real quick. All right.
Thank you. So over the course of a school year, staff enthusiasm for giving out tickets and recognizing behavior kind of ebbs and flows. Just wondered if you guys, best idea you have for recognizing staff and just kind of keeping the momentum going.
1 minute answer.
Yeah, I can tell you that at the high school level, that absolutely ebbs and flows. Some of the cool things that I've done in different spaces and places is we set goals. We were on a trimester system, so we're setting trimester goals to reach those goals. But then also, having a good acknowledgement after that for school wide. And so those were some ways that we would work to try and keep that momentum going, because then when we're putting it out there and we were talking about those acknowledgements and some of that stuff, then it was always front and center. And not just the adults had to worry about it, but the students would be reminding the adults at times about it too.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that secondary perspective. Any more from Zach and Rachel? Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to work with our teams across the state. We also feel really lucky that we have representatives at every level. We have elementary, we have our secondary folks. So I just want to say thank you to our panelists. Let's give them a big round of applause and reactions online. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And now I'll invite most of the recognition work group up front. Holly's got her job back here, but the rest of you come on up. Thank you so much, Zach, Rachel, Steve, for working through the hybrid event with us. So nice to see you online. All right, so one of the work groups I get to be a part of is our recognition work group. We're the ones who practice or process those exemplar applications. And so we're just going to take a few moments. Janet really loves numbers, so she's going to talk about those for a moment here.
Fantastic job to the panel. And again, I just want to say, as we round out the end of the day, we're going to get into our ceremony, but all of this work that everybody is doing is amazing. We're going to talk about the sustaining exemplars at this point, but what that means is those who have applied. People have to apply for this application, and it's a process. This whole team and more go and review, and we always want to recognize schools, so please keep applying, and we will also be honoring those in the future for just simply taking a TFI. That's one of the goals we have this year, is like, let's just send some emails out. You take a TFI, great job, because as we heard, our keynote and many others, fidelity, sustaining over time, 3 to 5 years to keep things going, and then it's more and more and more hard work. And so with that, we're going to just quickly go over a few numbers. So we have our Sustaining exemplars over time. So you see here on our timeline, whoops, I'm pointing and it's over here. So sustaining exemplars came into place in around 2015, and this was folks who had come before us. And this is now continued on. So we have an application system, and each year schools or districts apply, and they have to meet some rigorous criteria. It's not really that rigorous. Just take a TFI and tell us the great stuff you're doing. But overall, we have 98 schools who applied this year. There was 97 in the news release, but one more snuck in as our application is open year round. So next slide is we have our sustaining exemplars that are measuring fidelity, we know, but we see above the threshold of 70%. We see our sustaining exemplars, so this is an average. And we started this kind of thing in 2019, but here in 2026, our average sustaining exemplar school is averaging tier 1 at 84% or better. So that's an average. But as you see, these teams are ready for tier 2 and tier 3, right? They're ready for advanced tiers. As Dr. Gage had talked about before, we need to be doing all 3 tiers. So, and lastly, we made mention a few times of the TFI 3.0, and we know that's out there. We don't always talk about it, but it is there. So we have about a third of our schools took and used the TFI this year, our sustaining exemplars. So we had 34 total schools. And then on the right side, just so you know, to be clear, it's a 5-point scale, so it's a lot different than the 2.1, a little bit more comprehensive as far as the meeting the criteria. So for fidelity of implementation, you need to have 40 out of 80 points or 50% or better. So our average for our sustaining schools, sustaining exemplars, was 74%. So well above that threshold. So I think this is a great point of time then to recognize our schools, and I'm going to turn it over, our districts and schools. Oh shoot, I almost forgot. So sorry. We have our ambassador schools, and those schools, this is my little plug, we have schools that have been sustaining PBIS over time are able to present in higher education settings. So what the goal is here is that A, you might end up with a really awesome student teacher because you're in that college or prep setting talking about PBIS. So I know when I was in school, things were so big, and once you get boots on the ground, it's a very different story. So we want to partner up with these higher eds. We've had this program going for time now, for quite a few years, and these are our current partners that we have our sustaining schools going to. Mankato, Southwest State, Gustavus, Hamlin, and St. Olaf. And actually, the world is big, so we are open to any and all higher education settings. And this is just one of the flyers they created. This is Lake Park Audubon. I'm not sure if they're in person, but to advertise. And schools actually do get a payment, so they get a stipend of $400 for each presentation that they do. If you're interested, see any one of us in this room on how to become an ambassador school.
All right. Well, now we get to the exciting part where we are going to start recognizing our exemplar districts. And a couple logistics before we get to all those names. If you're here in person, you feel free to stand up. We can woohoo and clap for you. And then you're going to head to the back of the room. They have, Holly has certificates for you. And then if you want, you can go out to the lobby. We can do a picture out there. Also, all the exemplar recognized districts and schools, we have banners for you. So we want to make sure you grab those. If you're online, feel free to also woohoo and we'll recognize you. And then your regional coordinators will get your banners to you and your certificates. So we are going to move right into our district recognition. We have 9 districts being recognized this school year. So at the district level, there's 2 different levels of recognition. You can have demonstrated that exemplar capacity with over 60% of your schools implementing school-wide PBIS with fidelity. Or you might have the designation of progressing towards sustaining implementation because you have multiple schools measuring fidelity, but you have not met that 60% yet. So part of that criteria that we're really looking at is those coordinated efforts at the district level, what kind of training, coaching, and evaluation is going on. And I want you to just think about at a building level, sometimes really having that consistency and communication is hard Now think of that at a district level. And that can be for a small school or a small district or a big district. It takes a lot of work to have that communication, to set aside people's time and provide resources. So congratulations to these 9. We've never had 9 recognized districts. All right, so we have Bloomington Public Schools, Cambridge Isani Schools, Duluth Public Schools, Eden Prairie Public Schools, Foley Public School District, Independent School District 728, which is Elk River, Otsego, Rogers, and Zimmerman, Sauk Rapids Rice Public Schools, and St. Cloud area schools. And Waterville, Elysian, Morristown District. So those are our 9 districts being recognized. All right, we're going to move into the school portion, and I will say there's a lot of schools, and I appreciate all your clapping. We're going to practice the, what do they call it? The choir clap or snaps. Do you either just do one clap or the snaps? Because our goal is to kind of keep it moving, and we want to recognize the schools, but we also know that we have an end time to our stuff. So I'm going to pass it over to which one of you? Okay.
Say hello. My name is Lauren Spar. I serve as the regional coordinator in the Metro. And Carly and myself, we're going to tag team a little bit. So I'll start here. We have here our criteria for those schools or programs. And as you can see, there are multiple ways that you could be recognized. You could do either the TFI 2.1, the TFI 3.0, or the BOQ, which stands for Benchmarks of Quality. We have 279 online, Apollo High School, Basswood Elementary, Becker Intermediate School, Big Lake Middle School, Bloomington Transition Center, Cambridge Intermediate School, Cambridge Middle School, Cambridge Primary School, Cambridge Isanti High School, Cedar Island Elementary School. Ooh, I missed one. Did I say Cedar Ridge Elementary School? We'll say them twice. Cedar Ridge Elementary School, excuse me. Chanhassen High School, Chaska High School, Clearview Elementary, Cleveland Elementary. And they're here. Yay! Cohasset Elementary, Cologne Academy, Discovery Community Elementary School, East Rapids Elementary School, Eden Lake Elementary, Falcon Ridge Middle School in the back, Foley Elementary School, Foley Intermediate School, Forest Hills Elementary, Fulda Elementary, Hidden Oaks Middle School, and Twin Oaks Middle School, who are online, and thank you again for presenting. Hilltop Primary, Independence Elementary STEM, Isanti Intermediate and CI STEAM School, Isanti Middle School, Isanti Primary School, Ivan Sand Community Middle and High School, and I right there. Jackson County Central Middle School, Jefferson Elementary School, K-8 Cambridge Isanti Online, Casson Manterville Elementary School, Catherine Johnson Education Center, La Crescent Hoka Elementary, right there, La Crescent Hoka Middle School. Okay. Lake Crystal Welcome Memorial Secondary. Lake Park Audubon Elementary, which is also an ambassador. Laketown Elementary. Lakeville South High School. Lakewood Elementary, lots of lakes in Minnesota. Liberty Elementary School. Lincoln Elementary School. Lincoln Elementary School. And I believe this is you.
Yes, Carly McClellan, PBIS Southern Region, coming in here. Madison Elementary School. Meadowville Elementary School. Mississippi Heights Elementary School. North Junior High, St. Cloud Area School District. Northview Middle School. Oak Point Elementary. Ogoville Elementary School. Osseo Area Learning Center. Osseo Elementary School. Parker Elementary School. Painesville Elementary School. Wood Community Elementary School. Pleasant View Elementary, Jackson County Central. Prairie View Elementary. Prairie View Elementary, Independent School District 728. Prairie View Middle School, Independent School District 728. Princeton Intermediate School. Riverside Elementary. Ooh. I love, no, you can do that. Riverside Elementary. Riverview Intermediate School. Ricori High School. Rogers Elementary STEM Magnet School. Rogers High School. Rogers Middle School. Sauk Rapids Rice High School. Yay. Sauk Rapids Rice Middle School. Shirley Hills Primary School. Sojourner Truth Academy. St. Michael Albertville Middle School East. Sumner Elementary. Tallahassee, okay, sorry about that. Community School. TCU Montgomery Pre-K through 8. Team Academy. Tech High School. Thomas Lake Elementary. The Academy's Freshwater Education District. Tri-City United Lee Center K through 8. Twin Lakes Elementary. Washington Elementary. WK Elementary. WEM Elementary School. WEM Middle School. Weaver Lake Elementary, a math, science, and engineering school. Westwood Elementary. Westwood Elementary School. Winona Middle School. Zimmerman Elementary School. Zimmerman Middle High School. All righty. That's all. And I just want to include that we did have a little contest here in person. The team with the most team members present will get this gift basket or this prize basket. It is Falcon Ridge Middle School. So you could come up and grab your prize if you would like. Otherwise, I'll deliver it. That's actually, come on up. Can we have all the team members come up and get recognized real quick? I'm sorry if I'm delaying anything, but we have 4 team members that are here. And yeah, can we get another round of applause for Falcon Ridge Middle School? Let me take a picture, Debbie.
Yep, we got it.
Hold the basket. And then Debbie is going to take a picture of y'all. Friends, get it.
Great job. Thanks, everybody. Let's do one last big round of applause for all the districts and schools that were recognized here today. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for everybody coming in person. We appreciate you coming back here for our first hybrid Summer Institute. It's so wonderful to have you here. Just as if you're thinking ahead for next year, there's cake here. You notice you got some swag going on. People are getting their banners. So just a little plug for next year's Summer Institute. We'd love to have even more friends in person with us. I also want to extend a thank you, not just to the recognition work group who planned this part, but also the Summer Institute planning team who put this whole day together. So a round of applause for them.
And then thank you to our leadership, Sonia, Eric, John, for all being here today as well. We really work hard to work together across the state. So it's lovely to have people in the same room and online celebrating that. So one more thank you as well to our presenters, Nick, our exemplars online and in person. Thank you so much. And you know, your regional staff is always accessible to you. Should you need some coaching, should you have some ideas, should you want to connect with other folks across your region, they are there for you. Erin did have our little business card that was playing throughout our lunchtime. So you saw there's a lot of people working on the statewide team at the ready to help. So you'll notice here we do have a QR code as well as the link to the survey. So please do take some time to fill out the survey, whether you're in person or online today. We'd love your feedback, not just for the flow of the day, but also looking ahead to what you guys want to hear from us throughout this coming year and next year for Summer Institute. And then CEUs and certificates of attendance can be downloaded from the survey before you submit it. So that is where you will grab your CEUs. All right, one last round of applause. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Thank you so much. And great luck for the start of your school years. And thank you for your continued commitment to PBIS. Thanks. Don't forget to grab cake on your way out and all of your swag.